Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm, of course, your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good New Year's Day. It is late in the afternoon. It is a perfect time for another video. I want to welcome you back to part two of my look at my favorite 25 albums of all time. I just did part one. This will be part two. I again want to give out a quick shout out to BP, a viewer of the channel who gave me this idea. So I hat off to you, BP, for this. It was a good idea. It's quite a list to put together. So in part one, I covered albums 25 to 13. And in this video, I'm going to be covering albums 12 to 1. So again, when you're watching this, grab a drink, grab something to eat, get comfortable, and enjoy. All right. This is a hell of a list here, guys. Coming in on number 12 is Rainbow with Rising. Now, some people would say this is um, the classic lineup of Rainbow. I would have to agree, featuring Ronnie James Dio on vocals, Richie Blackmore, of course, on guitars, various instruments, Tony Carey on keyboards, Cozy Powell on drums. This is their second release in this configuration, released in 76. 6 tracks on the album. That classic album cover, as you saw, with the hand grabbing onto the rainbow. Um, 4 tracks on side one, 2 tracks on side two. Uh, for me, this is a classic album. It is superb. Okay. Even the songs that you think maybe are would be filler. I know some people would think that 2 of the songs on side one are filler. They are simply fantastic. Starts off with Terror Woman. Uh, Beautiful intro by Tony Carey on keyboards. Run with the Wolf, is another great track. Do You Close Your Eyes, which I know some people think is filler, is a fantastic track. Side two starts off with the album centerpiece, Stargazer, uh, a tour de force. Fantastic intro on the drums from Cozy Powell. Fantastic guitar work from Richie Blackmore. Um, an amazing over the top tour de force vocal from Ronnie James Dio. This is my favorite track on the album. Literally, and it tells the story of this guy, this Svengali individual who believes he can save you. In terms of, follow me, I have the path. I know what to give you. I know what you need for salvation, for utter happiness and eternal peace, to the point where he literally believes his own rhetoric and it becomes his own downfall, his undoing. And he's basically destroyed by his own ego. That starts off side two. The second track is A Light in the Black, which to me is like a continuation from uh, Stargazer. Fantastic, another 8-minute track. It's in my opinion Rainbow's strongest album. Uh, it's a shame that Ronnie James Dio in the 1994 video interview for Germany had said that side two for him was just an excuse for a drum solo and a guitar solo by Blackmore. He much preferred the first Richie Blackmore's Rainbow album. I prefer this album. It is simply fantastic. Released to Polydor. It's released in various formats. You can even get it on purple colored vinyl. If you look hard enough for it, fantastic album. That's number 12. Coming in at number 11 is Rush with Moving Pictures. Released in 1981. through Anthem and Mercury Records, respectively, in Canada and in the US and in Europe. Some people would call it Rush's seminal album. It is the album that most people go to in terms of talking about Rush, featuring Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, uh, YYZ or YYZ, Vital Signs, The Camera Eye. Just an amazing album. Um, I remember this album when it came out uh, originally, and everyone kept talking about Tom Sawyer, Tom Sawyer. Fantastic drumming, recorded at the studio in Morin Heights, which is no longer there, unfortunately. Uh, it is, if Rush was to be put on a list of, in terms of albums that were masterpieces, this would be that album. Um, it is fantastic. And when they would do YYZ Live, they Neil Peart would go off into, a fantastic drum solo, as you can hear on Exit Stage Left. But it is, again, the seminal album uh, from Rush. Coming in at number 10 is Steven Wilson and The Raven That Refused to Sing. Now, I discovered this album late. Uh, I bought it a couple of years ago after hearing some songs online, and um, I got into it more this year, and it is a fantastic album. Uh, Steven Wilson, from Porcupine Tree, just amazing guitarist, amazing multi-instrumentalist. This album, it's a dark album. It's a fall album or even a winter album. Deals with themes of death um, in terms of the subject matter, with songs like Drive Home, uh, The Watchmaker. Just um, an amazing album, very dark in its themes, very textured in its production, very layered. Uh, I would call it a cross between somewhat ambient mixed with prog rock. Another song of note on the album is Pin Drop, and it basically talks about how this guy murdered his wife, and she never knew that he was on the edge of losing control of his anger until it was too late, until she heard the pin drop, and then she was gone. It is a fantastic album. It is a dark album, um, very moody, very atmospheric. Again, very layered and textured, but fantastic nonetheless. And I should say too, all of these albums I mentioned in part one, as well as this part two, you can check them all out on YouTube to stream. So that's number 10. Coming in at number 9 is Styx with the Grand Illusion. Released in 1977 through A&M Records. Again, some people would say this is Styx's seminal album, with songs like the title track, um, the Grand Illusion, the Grand Finale, which do bookend the album. Um, Angry Young Man, Superstar. Um, Also the epic, beautiful um, Come Sail Away. I remember hearing Come Sail Away as a kid on the bus on the way to school. on the radio, and I was just enthralled with it. And I was what, 8 years old at the time, and I still love it. Yes, I have said that in other videos that Crystal Ball uh, also piqued my interest over Grand Illusion, but you know what? Melody and punch is melody and punch, and this album, The Grand Illusion, delivers. Uh, Coming in at number 8 is Beatles with Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Released in 1967. This is considered, again, the Beatles' seminal album. When you hear other bands or artists compare, when they talk about each other in terms of albums that they released, you hear people say, this is this band's A Night at the Opera. This is this band's Moving Pictures. This is this band's Sergeant Pepper's. Sergeant Pepper is a fantastic album, 13 tracks, loosely loosely tied together with the concept, featuring songs like the title track, With a Little Help from My Friends, Fixing a Hole, She's Leaving Home, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, Within You, Without You on side 2, Lovely Rita, Good Morning. Fantastic album. When I'm 64, and it ends with the classic, the epic A Day in the Life. I've loved this album since I heard it when I was a kid. My ex-brother-in-law, Mario, had this album. He's had many albums, and I've always loved this album. I've always been a fan of the Beatles and their more intricate compositions like Eleanor Rigby, stuff like, the Sgt. Pepper album, Abbey Road, Let It Be, stuff like albums like that. I was never a fan of Love Me Do or uh, Please Please Me. But that's the way I was as a kid. So that's number 8. Coming in at number 7 is Prince with Controversy. Released in 1981. Um, Fantastic album with songs like the title track, 7 minutes plus, Sexuality, Do Me Baby. That's side 1, right? And there was a bit of a controversy when this, over the years, apparently because Andre Simone has claimed that he wrote the track Do Me Baby, and Prince took it and did some changes to it and made it his own. Side 2 starts off with Private Joy, Ronnie Tuck to Russia, um, Annie Christian, um, just a fan, Jack You Off, the final track on the album. Um, Very, very supercharged album dealing with issues of society, issues of politics, issues of God and religion, issues of sexuality. Just in my estimation, it's a very underrated album. When people talk about Prince, they talk about 1999, Purple Rain, Parade, and deservedly so. Sign of the Times. I love all those albums, but I have come to appreciate Controversy so much over the years. And I think overall, it's a very well balanced album. It has funk, it has disco, it has new wave, it has a bit of rock. He could do a guitar solo, Prince could, like no one's business. So that's number seven. Coming in at number six is Meatloaf with Bound Out of Hell. Now, uh, what to say about this album? Seven tracks, released through Epic, originally Cleveland International, which was a smaller label. Then it got picked up by Epic Records, which distributed Cleveland International through CBS. The roots of this album started off in 1975 when you had Jim Steinman and Meatloaf going around to record companies, auditioning for them with Ellen Foley, and seven tracks on this album from start to finish, killer and no filler. Starts off with the mammoth 9 minute plus title track. The I do believe that the original version of the track Bound Out of Hell was like 45 minutes. You know what I mean? There are no demos around of this album because according to Meatloaf, you could not demo Bound Out of Hell. It was impossible. So you have the Tower track, you took the words right out of my mouth, Hot Summer Night. You have Heaven Can Wait, beautiful ballad, beautiful ballad. Uh, all revved up and no place to go. You have side two. You have you took two out of three ain't bad. Sorry. You have Paradise by Dashboard Light, and you have the epic For Crying Out Loud. Uh, Paradise by Dashboard Light, it should be said, the original version was 27 minutes. There was a lot of editing that went on, and when Todd Rundgren, who agreed to produce the album and engineer it and record, and play on it, looked at the song and said, how the hell am I going to make a song out of 27 minutes? Like, it's impossible. Just give me the track. He edited it down to 8 minutes, 45 seconds. And when Meatloaf heard it, he said, "You've killed the song." He hadn't even heard the song yet. He just said to Todd Rundgren, "You've killed the song." He's like, and Rundgren was like, "Are you kidding me? Like 8 minutes, 45 seconds? Like, just listen to the track." So he listened to it, Meatloaf did, and amazing. He says, "That's it. That's the track." And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful album. It's rock, it's opera, it's theater, it's rock theater. It's all of the above. It's all that what you want it to be, you know? And I've always loved this album. Some people don't like it. I know a few people that don't like it, but you know what? That's their opinion. For me, it's number six. Coming in at number five, again, this was a hard list to put together. Um, Supertramp with Crime of the Century. Released in 74. This was the band's third release after a retooling of the band, which, because they had released two albums previously, the indelibly stamped, the second release, and the Supertramp, self-titled, and for A&M, they didn't sell well, so they retooled the band. The only remaining two members were Roger Hodgson and Richard Davies, and they brought in John Helliwell, uh, Bob C. Benberg, and Dougie Thompson on bass, and released Crime of the Century. Fantastic album. 8 tracks. One of the I've always said this is one of the best albums sonically that I've ever heard, with songs like School, Bloody Well Right, Hide in Your Shell, uh, Asylum. Um, Side two starts off with Dreamer, which was a single for them at the time. Fantastic. Um, Rudy, If Everyone Was Listening, one of my favorite tracks. And the epic, and I do mean epic, title track, Crime of the Century. Just amazing. Amazing. Not one song can be skipped or should be skipped on this album. Simply beautiful, you know. Um, Coming in at number four is Alice Cooper with Welcome to number two, My Nightmare. Released in 2011, the sequel to the original that was released in 1975. The original was released through Atlantic Records, is only released for Atlantic Records in North America. The sequel was released through Universal Music, again produced by Bob Ezrin. This is the continuation of the story of Stephen, very hard driven, very epic in terms of the amount of music that's on it, the scope of music that's on it, featuring contributions from Rob Zombie, uh, Kesha, Vince Gill plays guitar and a couple of tracks on this. Just amazing, an amazing follow-up. Uh, some people would say that it took too long for it to come out. I'd have to agree, but I think it's a fantastic album. I I like I like what he did with it. The lead off track, I Am Made of You, very, very beautiful, epic in scope and in production and in presentation, just amazing. And the fact that, spoiler alert, the fact that Stephen dies in the end um, of the album is just, it's sad, but you know what? It fits. And I mean, think of the idea of the album. Picture it if you can. Forgive me for a second, but picture if you can, if you know you're in, how can I put this? You know, you go to sleep at night and you're having trouble waking up from your dreams. And every time you go to sleep, it is getting more difficult for you to wake yourself up in the morning and get out of the dream, to the point where you never wake up. And that's what happens in this on this album, right? Just a beautifully crafted album, very heavy in spots, very melodic in others, and sometimes comical in other spots. So that's number four. Coming in at number three is The Tea Party with Transmission. Released in 1997 through EMI Canada and Atlantic in the US. This is the band's fourth overall release, third major label release through EMI and through Atlantic. Um, Brilliant. This album got me through um, a big transition in my life. And it is 11 tracks. Uh, the band, unfortunately, you know, Jeff Martin, Stuart Chatwood, and Jeff Burrows never really got noticed in the US. And it is the US, it's the US's loss on that. Heavy album, very textured, very layered, fantastic guitar work from Jeff Martin. This album, they used elements of electronica and elements of just what's the phrase I'm looking for? Industrial, sorry, almost lost it there. Industrial rock, but not overly so. Very melodic. Singles from the album were Trans Temptation. I was going to say Transmission, the title track. Temptation was a single. Babylon was another one. Release, uh, Gyroscope. But every song on this album is fantastic. Every single track is killer and no way filler. I swear to God. If you guys out there can get yourselves a copy of this album, either on vinyl or on CD, or again, listen to it on YouTube, you're missing out if you haven't heard this album yet. It is simply fantastic. And it is my favorite album from the Tea Party, bar none. I swear to God, I don't mean to do that, but it's just amazing. Coming in at number two is Queen with Queen 2. Released in March of 74. Their second release, recorded in August of 73. And the band wanted to get this album recorded and released quickly, but due to a typo on the album cover, it had to be redone due to John Deacon now wanted to be called Deacon John. He wanted to be called John Deacon, so they had to fix that. Plus, um, there were other delays, but this album is considered to be Queen's stab at progressive rock music. It's a very layered album, very textured, very dense in terms of guitar work from Brian May. Fantastic work. You have layers and layers of vocals. You have ascending vocal lines, descending guitar lines, sometimes meeting in the middle, sometimes crossing one another, overlapping, and just making and creating a fantastic canvas of an album of music. Um, and Brian May has said that they've often looked at being in the studio and looked at the studio as an empty canvas, and you could go in there and create whatever kind of a painting you wanted. And they did with this album, from the iconic, as you saw, cover from Nick Rock, featuring the Head and Shoulders shot that was inspired by uh, a movie with Marlene Dietrich, Shanghai Surprise, I believe it was called, and Freddie Mercury looking at the photo of Marlene Dietrich saying, "Ah, yes, and I shall be Marlena" in the photo with the hands crossed. It is just amazing. The black and white motif, the themes of black and white, side black, side white, um, just over the top vocal harmonies and production, gong gongs going off at the beginning of you know ogre battle at the front and at the end of the track. Just amazing. Use the use of harpsichord, the use of again just multi tracking of guitars. It is their masterpiece, and it is one of my favorite albums. It is my favorite Queen album. That's number two. Coming in at number one, and I know I'm probably going to get flack for this. Uh, Pink Floyd and The Wall. Now, released in 1979, December of 79, double album, concept album, 26 tracks, 13 tracks uh, per album, produced by Bob Ezrin and the band, or I should say Bob Ezrin, Roger Waters, and David Gilmour. At this point in the band, Roger's hold over the band was absolute. Um, a story about this individual named Pink, who becomes a rock star, but has shut himself off from everybody in his life, from his wife, his friends, his bandmates, everybody. Some would say it's an autobiographical look at Roger Waters' life. And I would have to say, you know, in the abstract, yes, I would say. Um, it is a tour de force. It is rock. It is theater. It is a combination of the two. There is not one track on this album that I would skip. There are no fillers. I know of people saying that, oh, this would have been better as a single release. Um, I can't see it. I don't know how you would be able to separate, take out the tracks to make it a single release. In order to make the story work, you wouldn't be able to. Um, it is for me my favorite Pink Floyd album overall. Some people would say, "Oh, well, what about Dark Side of the Moon?" That's fine. This is my favorite album from Pink Floyd. Um, I was able to see Roger Waters do this album on tour in 2012 here in Edmonton. It was a tour de force. It was a masterpiece of a concert put together, flawlessly executed, amazing. Um, Songs of note, right? I mean, they're all fantastic, In the Flesh, uh, The Thin Ice, Happiest Days of Our Lives, Another Brick in the Wall, Part One, uh, you know, Mother, Another Brick in the Wall, Part Two, Goodbye Blue Sky. All of these songs are good. Run Like Hell, Comfortably Numb, The Trial, Vera Lynn, Bring the Boys Back Home, One of My Turns, Empty Spaces. All of these songs are good. I can't name all, I'm not going to name all 26, but all of these songs are good. Every song on this album is where it's supposed to be. I know that Dave Gilmour has said that to him, the album lacks soul to him, and he worked on it. There was a lot of fighting over it. I understand that. But to me, this album is flawless. And I mean flawless. So that's my list. That's number 12 to 1. Hopefully you enjoyed these two episodes. So please, down there in the comments below, please put your top albums, top 25, top 10 albums of all time, whatever you want to do. And, let's try and get a dialogue going here. It is it is a long list for me, and it took me a while to put this list together. But you know what? I'll stand by it. And the beauty with these lists is they can change at any moment. But right now, I will stick with this list. I want to thank again BP for coming up with this idea, for giving me this idea, and for putting me to work on New Year's Day. Thanks a lot, BP, and putting this out there for you guys. So again, there are other shows coming up. On January 6th, I will be doing a panel show with Bill Schuster, his son Neil, Ryan Gavalier, and Mr. Peter Kent from the Lizard King channel. We're going to be ranking our top albums from Black Sabbath. We're going to do an album ranking of Black Sabbath. That's going to be a long show because we've got 19 albums to go through. So when you watch it, again, grab a drink, grab something to eat, grab a pillow, sit back and relax and enjoy. Bill Schuster and I are going to be doing our top five albums from 1970 to 1979. So we're going to be doing our top five plus two honorable mentions. It was Bell's idea. I came up with the two honorable mentions to give him a little more work to do. Sorry about that, Bill, but that's going to be coming up soon. We're going to make it a series. So that's coming up. So please, hopefully, you guys are having a good day. Happy New Year to everyone. And please look after yourselves and one another. I am Armando Venditti, signing off for now. Have a good day, and we'll see you very soon. Bye for now.